There is a fifth dimension.
About the unknown.
Beyond that which is known to man.
The Garden of Thought.
The Babylon Project was our last best hope for peace.
Unexplained.
Mythologies.
This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call...
The Garden of Thought with Jeff Lippman.
Eventually, our sun will grow cold and go out.
You're listening to something much bigger, something hidden in plain sight.
It won't just take us. It'll take Marilyn Monroe and Lao Tzu and Einstein. All of us was for nothing, unless we go to the stars.
What you're about to learn will completely change the way you experience your mind, your thoughts, and yourself.
Let's make sure that history never forgets the name.
The Garden of Thought.
Welcome, everyone, into the Garden of Thought. And this week we are welcoming in another author from our friends over at, from our friend Nikki Mickelson, who's the publicist, but he's from Shadow Paw Press and Edward Willett's operation, where we've gotten a lot of great authors. And this week it's Arthur Slade. Arthur, thanks very much for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome.
So let me tell you a little bit about Arthur. He's written a whole bunch of books, and he came out of the box really strong. He has a book called Dust, which won the Governor's General Award. He's the author of more than 30 novels, including Dragon's Assassin and the Hunchback Assignments. He apparently lives in some place called Saskatoon, which I'm not really sure if it exists or not. It's not clear that he's telling us it's real or not. I believe there were Rough Riders that played football there. He writes on the treadmill desk and listens to heavy metal. So, I mean, that's sort of interesting in and of itself. And he's got a series of books called the Dragon series, where one of the main characters is a dragon called Brax, who seems to be a wisecracking sort of, I don't know. I'm picturing a Bugs Bunny. I'm probably entirely wrong about it. So maybe instead of me pontificating on what might be, we can talk to the actual man himself, who knows exactly what it is. So welcome from Canada here to America. Thank you for paying your tariff on the way. We really need that money for reasons. How's it going?
Good, yeah. It's going quite well, and yeah, Saskatoon. I still don't know if it exists or not. It does sound like a made-up place. Who would name a city after a berry?
Yes. I assume it's very close to Brigadoon, so I mean...
Yeah. That's right, yeah. Yeah, we hear that we tell them to turn down the music of Brigadoon all the time.
You kids, you fairies, stop that. I understand that you were raised by elves and a grumpy dwarf, not wolves. So how did that work out?
I think it worked out okay for my imagination. I kind of make that joke in my bio because I did actually grow up on a ranch in the Cypress Hills, which is part of Saskatchewan that is not flat. We're known for being a flat province, but we do have some hills. And it was a place where like the nearest neighbor was like 2 or 3 miles away. So I had a lot of time. It was hard, especially before you got your license. It was hard to visit with your friends and stuff. So I had a lot of time to read and started writing and that sort of thing. And that's why I say I was raised by elves and dwarves and all of that, because it was really that's where my imagination went.
I feel like
and sneaking off to watch Star Wars, the theater.
Oh, sure.
Those two things, yeah, changed my life.
I feel like the grumpy part of the dwarf is actually an allusion, as an illusion, not illusion, to someone that might exist. Was there like a grumpy grandma, or like was there, somebody who just sort of came with the barn or whatever that was, the caretaker that came with the land?
That's the thing about on the ranch. Yeah, we actually, grumpiness is just generally part of farming and ranching, right? So pretty well everybody had their inner grump, and their inner grump was really amazingly creative in terms of swear words, because that's one thing. Both my dad and we actually had. It was curious in the sense we had a hired woman who had actually helped raise my dad. And she was a very, very, very tough person who had made it through the 30s and stuff, and she was not afraid to swear. And so when I think about grumpy people, even though they were grumpy and very loving, when you're out in the field, there's a lot of grump, because sometimes the grump is how you get things done.
Yeah. Well, let me disabuse you of something, and also the audience, who I'm sure by now are really confused. I'm sure that everyone thinks that I am very used to ranching, and I'm a roughneck by nature. Everything I've learned about ranching came from Rawhide, Dallas, Larry McMurtry, a little bit of the other guy, I can't remember his name right now, who wrote some other cowboy similar books that were sort of like Lonesome Dovish, and Cherokee Moon or Comanche Moon, and of course Yellowstone, which has taught me everything I need to know about, well, everything. So I don't know much about it, but I wonder, obviously not well. The audience, if they've been following along for a while, and I do have largely a lot of the same audience that follows along, they know a lot of the authors from Shadow Paw Prince come from Canada, and a lot of, sort of rural areas of Canada. And I always wonder how, maybe this is my city slickerness coming in, East Coast US, but if you grow up rural and all that, like, what kind of path do you have to take? Do you have to sort of seek out the schooling, the educational, the university, whatever, to get that kind of skill set to be able to write publishable books?
Yeah, I think for me, most of the education for the actual writing probably came from reading the books, from reading The Lord of the Rings, and I loved Heinlein and all the science fiction of kind of the 70s, 80s era. Stephen King, I was kind of went down kind of the horror, the fantasy, and the science fiction, troughs, so to speak, in terms of what I was feeding my mind. And so those things really made me want to become a writer. In terms of it, I did go to university here in Saskatoon. There's a real university. It's not a real city, but there is a real university called the University of Saskatchewan. And I just remember going to university and thinking, well, I'm going to spend 4 years here, and that's going to be a break away from real life so that I can write on the side. And by that time, I'll be done, and I'll be a writer, and I'll have a degree. But it turned out I was wrong. It actually took me like 10 years to become a writer. And those 4 years just gave me a degree, which was all fine. But I don't know that it made me that much better of a writer. Just better at writing essays, we'll put it that way.
Gotcha. So what was your first book like, and then what was your inspiration for writing it?
Yeah, I actually started quite young, and this is my first book that wasn't published. In some ways, it's a sad story, because I wrote a book when I was in grade, 11, 12.
Well, I did too.
Yeah, and it was called the Bard Song, which was all about a guy who sang a song that would save the universe. And just in that description, you probably could see why it never got published. And I went on to write 6 more books after that I would send out to publishers all across North America, and they never got published. And actually, it was 5 more books, because my 7th book was the first one that I wrote. The first 3 chapters, I had taken my English degree and had taken Icelandic studies, and so I took the old Icelandic or Norse myths and turned them into a modern story called Draugr, or Ghost. And
I know the Draugr. Those are sort of like the Viking zombie vampire kind of revenant things that they sort of haunt you and eat you.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is they're always they're always like your relative to make it even more scary.
Of course.
You know, it's like Uncle Thordy. He's the grumpy old guy who dies, and then he comes back from the dead and makes everything worse at the party. So.
Yeah, I mean, hauntings, it's almost always family. I mean, you know, you can leave a haunted house, but your family, that's eternal.
They are never leaving you. Yeah, that's right. So that one did get published, got picked up by a publisher, and that was my first kind of foray into the world of publishing. And my first, it actually became a bestseller in Canada. And in Canada, of course, we're a smaller country, you just have to sell 5,000 copies and you're a bestseller. But it made me realize that I couldn't make a living as a writer because you're only getting about 80 cents per book. So that was not enough to live off even back in.
So that's $4,000 before taxes. I can do that math.
That's right. That's right. But it made it very clear to me that I needed to up my game in terms of both finding Canadian publishers, American publishers, getting an agent, and all that. So it wasn't until my fourth book came out, which is a book called Dust, that I was able to finally, get an agent and get an American publisher and kind of start to grow to more worldwide. It kind of sounds pompous, but to make it, a bigger market that my books were appealing.
Let's go worldwide. Everything's global.
It is now.
Tell us about Dust. What is it about angel dust? Is it about sawdust?
Yeah.
I mean, what do we got going on here?
It's all about, just like in the States, you guys had the Great Depression in the dirty 30s while we had it. We got to have it here in Canada, too.
Sure, of course.
And Saskatchewan was particularly hard hit by it. And it's still, even though I wasn't around in the 30s, all the old folks who came from the 30s would talk about how horrible it was, but also how much they had lots of fun in a way, because there wasn't a lot of work they could do. But it really felt like the whole province was cursed. And so Dust is all about a rainmaker who comes to a small town and promises to bring rain, and people start to believe him, and he actually brings rain, except the children start to disappear one by one. And the most horrifying thing about that is the parents don't really care. They've been so magically entranced by this person, they kind of stop. They're in this dreamland waiting for the rain to come. And he's actually someone who has never had a soul, and he's using the children, the dust, which is the dust of their souls, to make his own soul. So that's the happy little story of Dust. And it's kind of an ode to my childhood in a way. Not that there was any strange rainmakers or anything like that.
When your parents start trying to sacrifice you to a rain god. You're like, no, I don't want to go, Mom.
It could still happen.
Right.
But just the whole idea of growing up on the farm and that sort of thing, except I wanted to make it into a supernatural story.
Every now and then your mom still calls you up. Uncle Moloch wants to see you again. And you're like, not again.
Yeah. We didn't finish the sacrifice. You ran away.
That's right. You are the literal scapegoat, not the scapegoat.
Might use that one.
Yeah, I mean, scapegoat means you're the one that got caught. I mean, how come we don't do that anymore? This escape person, you don't use. I mean, we use escape all the time. These are things I worry about or think about. We have escarpment, but nobody says carpment. We have invincible, but nobody says vincible. We have disgruntled. Nobody says gruntled. I'm gruntled right now.
I am starting to feel gruntled now that you've mentioned all those things. More things I should be angry about.
Yeah, but that would make you disgruntled. But I'm gruntled. I'm using gruntled. That's good. Yeah. But then there's these things that confuse you, like regardless and irregardless mean the same thing.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got writers here. I'm looking for answers. So anyway, so Dust, we have a rainmaker who may or may not be a Babylonian god who is eating children. Though, I mean, people selling kids as old as time, or sacrificing kids, or having woodsmen put them into the woods for wolves to eat them. And of course, usually the woodsman or whomever, it fails and they end up, coming back home with one slipper and, killing their father and sleeping with their mother, or, reclaiming, the love of a prince.
I didn't get into all that stuff, just to be clear.
Well,
it does take inspiration from those types of stories. And it actually takes inspiration because this is the odd thing, the hometown where I grew up, it's a place called Tompkins, which was a population of 210 people or something like that. And there was a rainmaker who came there in 1925. They had some kind of special machine that he brought in his truck that was powered by glass batteries, and he got the whole town to give him $5, and he would, get that machine, put it up in the hill, and he said within 2 weeks there'll be rain. And he was really clever because not only like $5 back in the 1920s, a lot of money. He's put it all in a suitcase, but the 2 weeks thing meant that he went around. He's a really good talker. He would go and have free meals for 2 weeks, and then the night when it was supposed to rain, or the day, that's when he took all his stuff down, took his suitcase, and drove away.
Or 11 and a half days, and then also, I've got to tend to my machine.
And he's gone. Yeah.
Turns out it's a couple of deer skins and a fire. The little chimney huts.
So that was the true inspiration, one of the inspirations for the story. But and Dust is one of those books. When you're an author, you just never know how people are going to react to it. And it came out at the right time. It did win the Governor General's Award, which is like one of the highest honors in Canada. And it's just suddenly everybody in the country knows about it, and every library and every school's inviting you to come and talk, and it was really kind of life-changing, the sense of a career, because suddenly people know who you are. At least they know your book.
Did they give you free meals when they invited you to speak? Did you get lunch?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you got paid. You got free meals. One of the real gifts to it is that I got to go nearly every province and territory in Canada. I just got to see them all.
There's like 67 of them, right? It's like
10 provinces and 3 territories.
Oh, I thought those, I don't know. I figured each one of those islands up there in the Arctic was its own territory.
It could be.
A lot of hauntings up there.
We haven't reached them yet, so we don't know if they're their own territory. We just claim them ourselves.
Oh, well, be careful. I'm sure Putin is busy claiming them as well. Part of the continental shelf that goes right under the Arctic all the way right to you. So, which is, of course, why we have to, we have no choice other than to annex you with or without your consent. Though that seems to have...
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, our designs on Canada and Greenland have really seemed to, in fact, even Miragaza has seemed to have left the table. I just don't understand it. It's almost like these words don't mean anything. I'm confused. Let's forget about my little crisis of faith right here. Before I move on, a little bit of nonsense which may not apply to you. Did you ever see the show The Ranch on Netflix?
The Ranch?
Yeah, it had Sam Elliott was in it, Ashton Kutcher.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Okay, they had a bunch of people from the 70s show, except it was completely different. It was sort of like a comedy version of Yellowstone without money. Anyway, the only point I have there is because the town they were in had the sign said 694 people. And the per capita of Drop Dead Gorgeous Blondes was ridiculous. So I'm wondering, in your town of 210, how many Drop Dead Gorgeous women were there that weren't the people who raised you?
Well, now, do I want tourism to increase in the town? It was at least 100%, really. That's my memory of it. You might find it different now because, of course, smaller towns, I think the population is probably still the same now. But it tends to be an older population nowadays.
Okay. All right. So we went from Dust, sort of a ghost con artist kind of story, a demon, whatnot. And but you seem to have made most of your hay from the Dragon series. So tell us a bit. I mean, what's the jump to dragons? What was your inspiration for it?
Yeah, I think part of the series is called Dragon Assassin, and I, at one point I was just looking for a title that would catch people's eye or mind in a sense, and they don't quite know whether it's a dragon that is assassinating people or an assassin that is assassinating dragons. But actually, it is an assassin who rides a dragon just to make it that much more dangerous.
Okay, and
it really is kind of my ode. It'll sound odd. I've written science fiction, and I've written horror, and I've written just historical novels. I never, even though I love fantasy, I never touched it because it just seemed too hard to kind of pin down, what kind of story because you can do whatever you want in a fantasy world, it seems. But this was kind of an ode to all the fantasy books that I've ever read, that kind of action adventure. Lord of the Rings, maybe without so much description, it's how I might put it. And the real kind of the inspiration that got the story going for me was just the idea of an assassin riding a dragon, and it's a young woman who's going to assassin school, and her school that she goes to, which is of course on this mountaintop, they all learn to ride these giant black swans that are very silent, and they can sneak into a castle and they can jump off the swan and do their dirty work and then fly away, and nobody knows the better or worse, I guess.
That's why they call them black swan events.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they have a lot of black swan events for this school. That's how you graduate.
Right.
But she does stumble across, within the first few chapters of the book, a dragon, and makes a deal with him. And in order to, he's actually trapped, in order to release him, that he will be her dragon for at least a year, kind of thing. And he agrees to that. And so it's kind of their adventures. But at the same time, the Emperor has decided he doesn't want any assassins around because they're kind of dangerous for him. And suddenly there's a war on assassins, and it turns out that her and this dragon and the few surviving assassins have to somehow defeat this emperor.
Right.
And her brother on top of it all.
And I'm pretty sure that if he doesn't want assassins on swans, he certainly doesn't want one on a dragon.
No, not at all. So, but the dragon character Brax is he's kind of an amalgamation of Smog and kind of dragon from the old myths like Fafnir and that sort of thing, kind of all shoved together, and he's just a horrible smart aleck who hates humans, hates the fact that he is chained to this young woman, and is just waiting for his time, biding his time to get rid of them all, basically. Although he will admit that he actually likes their culture, in that he reads all of their books, and is actually angry that they don't know their own cultures that well. So he was kind of one of the funnest characters for me. He's just, again, he's grumpy. He's always grumpy, and yet he's smart about his grumpiness.
Okay, so not exactly Bugs Bunny, but maybe Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck combined with a little bit of Scrooge McDuck. I mean, I think so. Yeah, okay.
That works for me. Yeah, and with a bit of fire breathing and eating goats once in a while. If you can kind of mix that all together, you would have Brax.
So this is the goat thing, so that would make him more of a mid-sized dragon as opposed to like Godzilla, like, needing like the entire, elk or cattle or whatever. I mean, you're in Canada. You got caribou there. You've got elks. You've got the moose. I mean, still going for the goats. Okay. Well, what am I saying? What am I saying? The dragon is not in Canada. The dragon is in a fictional world. So
that's right. That's right.
We're back to we're going to pretend Saskatoon exists. So it's not just what is.
I appreciate that. If we don't, I might just vanish.
Wow, it's very metaphysical. I don't think I have that kind of power yet.
Yeah.
It's funny because my name is Jeff, and there's this whole thing all over now that apparently Jeff has been identified as a power with nuclear weapons, and allegedly Jeff stands for some sort of fusion collective. It's some sort of governmental thing. Whose government, I don't know. But I of course I'm having tons of fun with it. Just saying, I've told you people, I've been warning you for years. What did you think was going to happen? What do you think I was just all talk? And then now,
I wish you had told me this earlier, because I would have been a lot more respectful. And now I feel like my time is very limited.
Well, I think I say it's a little bit of a test, and you failed. Sorry. Just expect to visit from my own little version of Brax the Destroyer. So Brax is indentured for a year. Now, a year,
yes,
that's a fairly long time. I mean, but it's not that long a time. And, if I'm to believe dragon lore, they live much, much longer than humans. So is a year like a long time for him? Is it a blink of his inner and outer eyelids? Is he just so grumpy that he lives his minutes just like we do?
I think he still lives his minutes just like we do. They do live longer than us, into the hundreds of years. But the part of the deal is that he has to help her, defeat the Empire and her evil twin brother. And once he's done that, then she has to help him. And so the next book is what happens when she goes to the world of the dragons, and there's someone that he wants her to kill, and so it's that whole story. So really, I don't, in a way, he doesn't even have to work for her for a year because they get a lot of those things done within the first book, and so each book after that, it is another adventure that they have together. So clearly they stick together.
That's
and
nice.
the curious thing is at the very start, she is missing an eye because when her and her brother were both trying to become assassins, and she was actually better than him, he may, on purpose or not on purpose, accidentally hit her in the eye when they were practicing, and she lost her eye. So she actually has stolen one of Brax's eyes and has it, and so now she has a dragon eye, and she's gradually getting dragon powers as each book goes along. So she has the ability to have scales appear if somebody tries to, another dragon tries to burn her or something like that.
How does this affect his depth perception? I mean, he's a dragon. He's flying. That seems like it's very short-sighted to cut off one of the eyes of your ride.
Yeah, I know. He keeps running into mountains and things like that. He actually, he's very sad about this. He starts to grow a human eye, and he feels it's very defective and horrible because it sees all these colors and things that it doesn't see as far as the others. So as the books go along, they are becoming kind of similar.
Oh, I see.
And the book that Shadowpaw has put out is the first one. It's kind of a standalone series, but it's really in a way the sixth book in the series because it's from Brax's point of view, and it's the first time. All the other books are from Carmen's point of view. This is the first time where he gets to spend the whole book telling the whole world how horrible they are and how smart he is and how he's going to save the day over and over again.
So this is Arthur Slade's version of Wicked, where we see everything from Elsbetha's point of view. So, I mean, right. So Brax is coming to Broadway, right? Is that what I'm hearing here?
Yeah, that is, you manifested it. I'm sure it's going to happen now.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just have to write the songs.
Let me tell you something, and I don't know if I am good luck for other people. I am not good luck for me. I mean, my life is fine. I'm even Steven. Things are pretty good. Like I think I'm getting ahead, and finally, like I pay off this, and then my water heater breaks. So it's like the Enlil, Enki, Marduk, Ra, whoever's watching over me, they're making sure that I keep it right here. Don't get too big for my britches. Don't get too low. Nothing I can't handle. But not Excelsior. You ain't going to Morton's every week. But for other people, I've been very lucky, especially in my show, the Gospel of Thomas and Book of Black, which is just depending on who the co-host is. They're both pro wrestlers, and like. The people we've talked to, like they've exploded, and companies they work for got TV deals and things. It's like people getting championship belts, people getting movie roles. I used to call it, I go by Evil Dose in that world. So I would call the Dose Rub, but it's so unmistakable. So even Thomas was, Mr. Thomas's real name is, wait for it, Thomas. So Thomas was down. He was scoffing. He's like, "You're taking credit for everything." I go, "No, it's my gimmick." But it's become so apparent that like he's accepted as the Gospel of Thomas rub, and I'm perfectly fine with him because he's 6'5". Who am I to argue with him?
I'm going to book my tickets to Broadway now for Brax.
That's right.
Clearly.
That's right.
Clearly, it's happening.
That's right. Get on that dragon and start flying. Head east, young man. and do that. So, all right. So you're now international. Humbleness aside. So 5,000 books sold to Canada. So have you done any bestsellers in the U.S. globally? Are you like huge in Bolivia and Serbia or something? I mean,
it's funny, especially it's because authors kind of learn this as they go along. Like one book will sell really. There's always, I talked about the first book was 5,000 copies, right? And the next one was 5, which is very much live off of. But then Dust took off, and it's like 100,000 copies, and that's a much more kind of livable, amount. And then one after that is 30,000, and then and they kind of with 30 books, I started to learn. No, this just goes up and down. But the Dragon Assassin series has been, it's been a bestseller in the States and in the UK, judging by Amazon. So it's made up into the top 100 or so on Amazon a couple of different times.
That's great.
And it's sold in hundreds of thousands of copies. So it's all very confusing. I shouldn't say confusing in the way, because I understand the business side of it. It was confusing to me because when I first wrote this, I write for young adults, and so my books are kind of 10 to 17 or so. I wrote this book and I sent it to Scholastic here in Canada, and they said, "Oh, this is perfect for 10 and up." But I kept the rights for the States and the UK and the self-publishing it. And the people who were buying it were 40 to 75. Well, even there were some 80-year-olds who wrote to me and said, "Oh, I just love this book." And I thought, well, I am not good at predicting who the audience is for a book. I just have to put it out there, and then it'll find its audience.
Absolutely right. Yeah, I've had people describe their income sort of as, I don't know what the word is for, like, the heart line, the heart monitors, but sort of like, in law, I talk to a lot of small business owners, and they're trying to decide whether they should be an LLC or S Corp, or they should be taxed as a corporation. And basically I'm like, listen, if your income is going to be steady and high enough, you probably can do S corporation either structurally or at least be taxed that way. I'm not going to bore anybody with what that means. I said, but if your income is likely to be like an EKG, and it's going to go up and down and in different and then in all sorts of different ways, and maybe you have an arrhythmia and you're not sure, you need to ride ebbs and flows, then you got to go with the LLC, because you need to be able to ride with the ebbs and flows and not suffer tax wise for it. Anyway, so I guess we're fitting a little bit of what's usually the midweek show topic, I suppose, which is but I completely understand what you're saying there. I've had two aviation attorneys on, but one was someone who sort of represented pilots and regulatory stuff, and the other one does that too, but he also does sort of like mass torts, and that's the bread, that's the big money, but it's also where you spend the big money. So he said that his friends make fun of him because his income is like a heart monitor. Anyway,
that's mine. That was one of the things that it's because I'd always pictured being a writer. Like my plan was that each book would get better and bigger than the next one, right? And that's how it's going to work. And it took a few years to get that plan out of my head and realize that you're just going to have to go with those ebbs and flows and those odd tax years and all of that, because I'm still quite happy when a book gets published or when it finds its audience, that sort of thing. And I still want to make a living at it, of course, and I'm happier when I do that.
Okay, so I'm guessing from the themes of your books and some of the inspiration that how mad are you? I'm not asking if you're mad, but how mad are you at George R.R. Martin?
Well, no, I'm not mad at all.
Really?
Because he's leaving the audience hanging, and then we get to swoop in and try and fill that space.
I'd like to hang him. Can you do that in Saskatoon?
Oh, yeah, it's still legal, I guess.
Yeah, okay, good.
Only Mondays at midnight, but it still works.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. I understand the anger, though. I understand from his side, because his side is he's got so many things happening in his life that it's probably going to slow him down.
Well, he volunteered for those things instead of the one thing everyone cares about. And by the way, some of the stuff he's done has stunk.
Yes.
Do of Dragon stinks. Dark Winds is okay at best.
Yeah. It is. You do make a promise, right? In a sense, when writers start a series, you do make a promise that you should get to the end of it, so that the readers all get to, enjoy, even if they don't like how it ends, they get to know what the actual story is. And so we are stuck in this odd world where we have the ending that the TV show gave us, but we don't have the ending that he was going to give us.
But see, what you've done is you've had your story. You've probably reached some type of conclusion, or you're getting there. But then you switched up. You wrote a different book in the same universe, but from a different character's perspective. And that's what they're talking about. They're talking about doing a show with Arya or Jon Snow or whatever. And all those would probably work. I just feel that if I have read 5 books, and I have, and I've read approximately 5,500 pages, and I have, that by the end of page 5,500, I should feel like I'm closer to resolution than I was at the bottom of page 1, and I don't. I feel like I'm so much further away from resolution than the bottom of page 1 that I don't really want to do it. And then you wait a decade or more, it's like, no. And at this point, it's like, I'm not rooting for it, but time's not on anyone's side. I mean, I've seen him. He doesn't look that healthy. I don't look that healthy either. I'm not wagging my finger. You know, we probably have some of the same challenges. I mean, I hear he's 66, but he looks like he's 86.
He's just, that surprised me, actually.
Yeah, I might be wrong about the age. You know, this rant has been going on for a while. It's not rehearsed, but it's not the first time this. Anyway, so I would like you.
I think a friend of mine who's a writer kind of summed up. He said, because he gave up after the 3rd book, he said he is an amazing writer of creating worlds and creating situations, but he doesn't seem to know where to end it. And I hope he can find. I really, really hope for all of us that he can find that ending.
And let's be honest, and he's not the only one. The guy who wrote the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo books, the same thing. If you took out scenes about coffee, cigarettes, and cheese sandwiches, it would have been a novella. This one, if you take out all the details about the feasts and then the kind of food that they're eating and how the preparations and this, that, and like their seagulls and who their grandfather was and all of that stuff, you know, all these books would be 340 pages long. Fine. But we're going to get back to your stuff in a second. I just figured that everybody universally agreed that Jon Snow was obviously the bastard child of Edward Baratheon or Robert Baratheon, and maybe the woman is important, maybe she's royalty, maybe she's not. I don't know, that's the thing. But I recently spoke to someone who absolutely did not think that. He absolutely believed that Jon Snow was Targaryen. I'm like, he's not blonde. Like, he's not alabaster and blonde. What's happening here? So, what do you think?
What do I think? Oh, you know, if I disagree with you, then
you can disagree with me.
What I think is that what I actually have to is that I stopped at the 3rd book. Too.
You might have to start on off Broadway, though. I mean, if you disagree.
I know that's yeah. Right. So I'm gonna hesitate by not completely answering the question because I don't know for sure. And you know why I stopped.
Oh, smart.
Some of the reasons you listed is that I was reading the book and I was also, you know, there's of course all these articles about the books, right? And at one point there was an article that was listing like how many characters you get introduced to in the course of the series, and whatever the number was, it scared me, and I thought, I can't read anymore because I can't even keep track anymore.
Well, I'm sure it exceeded the population of your town. Like by by book 2,
right?
At least, yeah.
And so that's just that was too much for me. And I thought, well, I'll wait. Maybe I'll wait until it gets the last one done. Which clearly I've been waiting to, but not with the same anger.
Okay.
We'll see.
Well, I just lied to you a little bit earlier because I said I'm going to get right back to your stuff because now it's bringing me to another series which actually did end, although I know there's a lot of fan fiction, some was authorized, whatever, but just with the 7 books in the Dark Tower series. I'm guessing you read those?
I've only read the first one.
Oh, really? You only read the Gunslinger and you stopped? Okay, well then I can't ask you this.
Yeah, it wasn't because I didn't like them. I was enjoying it, but it's just...
It's a big commitment.
Is you get to a point, something else comes along, and then you don't go back.
I probably should have asked you if you read the series before I loaded up a question that you can possibly answer. All right, you know what? You win. We're going back to you. So what?
Sorry.
No. They're not sorry. It's your interview. I mean, you know,
that's a Canadian. That's a Canadian.
Oh, right. What it really means is you want to do a slapstick hockey shot to my head.
Yeah, even if we're playing hockey and you're not supposed to, oh, sorry.
I get the greatest Canadian movie, Strange Brew or Other.
Oh, yeah, Strange Brew. That's a good one. Yeah. Actually, that is. It's one of my. I don't know if it's favorites because you're just when you're Canadian, you're happy to see something Canadian, right? So yeah, let's think about that. But
greatest Canadian.
It's a good one. It's the most Canadian of all of them.
Yes, and absolutely, it's fantastic. Objectively so. There's no room for debate or discussion.
Oh, no one ever would.
Yeah, no, they shouldn't. They should be sacrificed to Moloch for rain.
Yeah.
Who is, or what, being basically the greatest Canadian music act?
So I'm a metal guy, right?
Mm-hmm. I remember.
So for me, and I actually haven't seen them in concert, but they're not, I don't know if they'd be the greatest act, but they're the greatest story to me is Anvil. And Anvil's a band that some people might know from the 80s who had these two albums that if you follow heavy metal were, oh man, these are amazing albums. And then they kind of disappeared. But there's a whole documentary on how they kept on touring. They've got like 15 albums and people just didn't, people here knew about them, but people in North America didn't really pay attention. And they just kept touring and touring and touring, and they never did become super popular. I think they're probably in their 70s now, maybe. But they didn't stop. And the documentary is, to me, just a wonderful documentary about grittiness and how if you love what you're doing, you just keep going. And they got that little bit of fame at the start, but they didn't give up afterwards. They just wanted to keep on going in that life. So Anvil is probably my, in terms of heavy metal anyway.
I'm just relieved it wasn't Bryan Adams or Rush, so.
Or Rush, well, hey, I am a Rush fan. I'm
sort of partial to Triumph.
Oh, I try. They're making their little comeback right now. Actually, there's a album of remakes of their songs actually that just came out. So they have reformed.
I'm here for that. I hope they do a little tour, and I hope they come to Baltimore. That'll be really cool. I need to.
Oh, they were great.
Yeah, I need to.
Another band that went really big in the 80s, and then everything kind of fell apart after a while.
Right, they were supposed to be like the next Led Zeppelin because everybody's supposed to be the next Led Zeppelin, but they ended up being close to the Journey, and then they ended up just disappearing into the ether of a million other bands that sort of came around at the same time. All right, back to the book. So the Brax book is done. What's next?
Well, I am actually. It's funny because we're talking about metal, right? My next book, which if I ever get it done, because it is now the longest book I've written. Most of my books are like 60 to 100,000 words, and this one's 200,000 words, which is like 400 and some pages or something. But it is called Metaloria, Highway to Hades.
Okay.
And
I'm listening.
We mentioned Amble. It's all about some characters who go to a heavy metal fest of all these old 80s bands, except it's in modern day. And 5 of these characters get electrocuted, not by Amble, just want to be sure I don't want to be sued.
No, it was Rat.
And sent to another world that is like, this is one of those portal fantasies, right? Sent to this other world called Metaloria that is like a heavy metal Middle Ages world where there's hair elves, so elves that are like the hair metal elves. And also anything you can imagine in kind of the stereotypes of heavy metal appear in this book. And on top of it, it's a gamified world. So they learn that as they kill people or learn things, they start getting more points and they get stronger. And so it's kind of like this mix of Dungeons and Dragons and heavy metal and fantasy.
So it's Dungeons and Dragons meets Free Guy meets hopefully barbed wire somewhere in there. I just want to throw in barbed wire.
Yeah. Another good Canadian in that one.
Which one?
Pamela Anderson.
Oh, well, the best Canadian. I mean, the best everything. Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. Yes, I mean, if there was ever an argument for one world government, I mean, it's her at the head of it with her husband Borat. I mean, come on.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty convinced that the sack of marriage is real. I mean,
it very well could be
the Saskatoon of marriage. All right, so the Metaloria. Tell me more.
Well, it's just these 5 characters have been transported by a wizard who is actually using them to make him stronger. He actually transports them into a dungeon, and anybody who dies in that dungeon, he gets their powers, kind of thing. But they are able to fight their way through, and the kind of the thing that I hope makes a difference is that. Not only do, kind of like in Dungeons & Dragons, right, you have fighters and wizards and that sort of thing. they also have an inner metal power, which is like they either have to be a good singer or a bass player, and all of these things kind of tie together to make their magic or to make their swords work better. They have to actually like sing while they're using them. So maybe this will be the one that ends up on Broadway. Now that I think about it,
Right. God made rock and roll for you is the theme. It's sort of like Gem and the Holograms meets the Matrix, kind of thing.
Exactly.
An evil magician transforming people to get their powers to absorb them. We call that in the biz the reverse Shazam. So
That's right.
the reverse Shazam.
Yeah.
I have a real question for you. I mean, they're all questions, but as a writer, maybe you write poetry, or maybe you write things that turn to be lyrical. Like, in The Lord of the Rings, there were lots of songs that the orcs or whomever would sing. Do you ever write anything like that and think, this would be a cool metal song? Like, maybe I should shop this around to, let's just say Anvil for just because you brought them up. I don't know.
That's right.
I would go with like Mastodon just because I think it's the coolest effing name possible.
It is. That is a good name.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, do you ever write anything?
It's funny. That is kind of at the heart of this book, because I of course played guitar in high school, and I was never that good at it, but I like being able to play along.
Well, there's only 209 other people. You were at least the fourth best guitar player in town.
I was. Yeah, there were others who were better.
You were like the Jeff Beck of that town.
That's right. I'm still a legend in someone's mind.
Absolutely.
But there is one song that's at the heart of the novel that's called Something Wicked This Way Comes, which is something that I had started writing in like high school. And I thought, well, finally, I could take the song and try and turn it into a 1980s heavy metal song. And so that's the whole kind of key, is they're putting together the song as they go along, and it will be the thing that gives them power and gets them of this world, hopefully.
I think I should put you together with. I do way too many podcasts, and one of them is called The Dose of Chocolate. Again, I'm evil dose or dose evil, depending in one world. And my tag team partner is White Chocolate, who is neither white nor chocolate. But anyway, he's like a master of like putting like remixes and video stuff together. But it's usually like 80s heavy metal kind of stuff. So I don't know, maybe I'll try to forge the connection. The only problem is I'm not sure that you can speak his language, because I sure as hell don't speak his language. Like, I ask him like a yes or no question, and he'll send me like a GIF and like a video, and he'll send me everything other than yes or no. And he's not going to change, and I'm not going to get more meta. So I'm 56.
There is no answer.
Yeah, I'm done. It's my growth is stunted. It's over. But yeah, I think that could be fun. You could have even if it doesn't work, it could be tons of fun. So that might be something. So yeah, but I would look forward to that. And I mean, I do think, can you get the rights to Kiss God Made Rock and Roll for you? Or maybe like it's going to be all original.
I know, or God of Thunder. That's one of the things, is that there's. I mean, of course, the rights are really hard to get.
Yeah.
But because I have actually spoken to Anvil and spoken to a couple other bands kind of, from that era that didn't become as popular, but they're just like, there's regular Joes who went on to have normal lives after they were famous for a while. And they've been really open about, oh yeah, go ahead, use my lyrics. And
definitely do that then. They'll definitely go with Anvil. Screw Kiss. Yeah. They've had enough.
Oh yeah. Well, and even I was, because Iron Maiden is one of my favorite bands, but I was reading about how they're very protective and litigious, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to be very careful about what I say or what I write. See, that's the unfortunate thing, is you don't have the rights to a song. You can only put the title into your book.
Absolutely, yeah. You're going to have to run to the hills, and you might die with your boots on.
That's right. Yeah. There you go. It's
What? What'd I just do? Oh no!
You haven't broken any copyright laws there.
No, I'm well aware.
You can have them hum the song, because they can't tell whether it's a tune or not, because they're just going do.
You can also do karaoke as well. Karaoke is somehow like sacrosanctly protected, because it's so important that every jabroni can sing in a bar, and I'm okay with that. I definitely am. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no, I'm as an IP attorney, or at least partly, I'm all for copyright laws and all of that stuff. But if you find the right combination of people, they will often, if they subscribe to your notion of fun, they'll do it. Case in point, I mean, this is not sacrifice much, but Living Color loves CM Punk. He comes into the cult of personality, and they often play him out live. Now, CM Punk's a big deal in wrestling, and I guess they're wrestling fans. So, but that little synchronicity, works. But
that's another band I was thinking about, Living Color.
Well, there you go. Well, at least they might listen. So but yeah,
the Cult of Personality. That song that was hit.
It sure did. I mean, I know they have a few other songs, but I if I was pressed, I'm not sure I could name one.
No, although I know I listened to the first two albums over and over again. So,
okay. What am I supposed to ask you about, or what are you supposed to tell me about that we haven't gotten to? Because I'm all over the place, but that's just me.
I think we covered everything. I think we've done a really good job. We're amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, we went from Broadway to heavy metal.
Excellent.
To tariffs. We did everything.
Yeah. As long as you agree, I'm okay with agreeing. Listen, I mean, do you think Anvil would mind if we used one of their songs as an outro, which is completely de minimis? I mean, nobody is listening to the podcast for the outro. So, again, that is an exception to the copyright law. Fair use, de minimis. I mean, nobody's even going to know it's here until they got to the end. And most people just skip the end song anyway. So, if you were to think of it but not be personally responsible for it in any way, shape, or form, what outro song would you like?
Oh, Metal on Metal.
Metal on Metal. All right. Yeah. Where can people find your work and your books and further follow and support you and find any, see what other cool stuff you got going on?
Well, I'm on arthurslade.com. I'm, of course, on Instagram, Facebook, and all those other places. But most of my work is available on Amazon for sure. And most bookstores can order the work in if they don't have it already.
All right. Excellent. And if you are here by accident or you're a fan of Arthur's and you're stumbling upon the show for the first time and you're like, I don't know, sort of like the cut of this guy's jib, or let's give it another try, just subscribe to Garden of Thought and you'll get you'll get 2 to 3 shows a week. There are generally 3 different personalities. You sort of heard one, this one. There's another that is actually more legal, business, tech, or geopolitics, but it's still me, so we still try to keep things light even when they're heavy. That tends to be the midweek show. And then there's the Gospel of Thomas, which, with Mr. Thomas from Major League Wrestling, formerly with PJ Black. So that's one was the Book of Black, and hopefully PJ will pop back again. He was just at Jinder Mahal's wedding. That's a famous Canadian, former WWE World Champion, Jinder Mahal. And I have lots of pictures of them all looking beautiful in traditional Indian garb. But that's where we talk to people in wrestling about generally non-wrestling stuff. It's generally shooting shit with, wrestlers who are very interesting people. So those are the 3 shows you get. You can subscribe wherever podcasts are found. And if you're interested in other things, you could just follow me on the Twitter. At Icarus Fell is my regular Twitter. At Dose_Evil is the one that's more wrestling, but I have to be honest, I'm more active with the wrestling one. But either way, anything I'm on will be promoted there. So if you do like what I do, or you like wrestling, or you're just curious, or you liked wrestling but you don't want to watch it, but you want to see to find what's going on, it's a perfectly great way to do it. I also do an interesting show on the Wrestling Soup Network where we talk about the intersection of law and wrestling, and that's only as an ad hoc show, but it's on Wrestling Soup. So follow them and thank them for allowing me to be on their network, even though most of my shows have 0 to do with wrestling. All right, Arthur, it's been a pleasure meeting you. Probably by now, my superstar producer will have been starting Anvil on Anvil, and you might already be hearing it and going, shut up, Jeff, I want to listen to the song. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shut up. Thanks, Arthur. Thanks very much for being on the show.
You're welcome.
Find your people, the ones that make you feel all right, the kind you want to stay up with all night. You got to find your people, the ones that make you feel whole. They won't leave your side when you lose control. The ones that don't let you lose your soul. You gotta find your people, the ones that get the joke, who understand what you're saying for a word is spoke. You gotta find your people that put the needle in the groove. When you're together, you got nothing to prove. When bring it together, you got nothing to lose. In a world full of strangers, you don't know who to trust. All you see is danger, trying to find what you lost. You can't go it alone, everybody needs help. You gotta find your people, then you'll find yourself. You gotta find your people that'll call your bluff, who ride along when the road is rough. You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel equal. They pick you up and don't put you down, help you find your way in the lost and found. In a world full of strangers, you don't know who to trust. All you see is danger, trying to find what you lost. You can't go it alone, everybody needs help. You gotta find your people, then you'll find yourself. The ones that understand you, the ones that lend a hand to you, the ones that don't demand anything from you. You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel alright, that tell you the truth and wish you well. You gotta find your people, then you'll find yourself. You gotta find your people, then you'll find yourself.